April 22nd. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
Talking kind of slow for some reason, and this is Geeknights. Tonight we're going to talk about living in the city. Definite article.
Let's do this. So, Rim, you say you got some sort of meta opening bit that pertains to your life in some way.
You jackass! We sat here for like 5 minutes with no opening bit, and then I'm like, all right, I'll do this thing from my life that's boring, but we'll just fill it out. And you're like, no, I got something. What the fuck?
Yeah, that's all I had. And you know what? In fact, we even discussed how because... we basically had a cascade of meta where I was like, oh, well, actually, let's talk about how I came up with this opening bit that was actually just an intro to your opening bit.
And then I was going to try
we decided
to
do that meta. We decided to bring that meta thought onto the show, which was the double meta.
But then...
And it was a cascade of meta-ness.
By premeditating them, I don't even know. I don't know what happened here.
Premeditated double meta opening bit.
The funny thing is,
hopefully better than the opening bit itself, and maybe it will make up for the complete lack of a good opening bit.
There's even I can't get into the reasons for this, but there's a fourth meta that we didn't bring up yet as to why we just did what we just did.
All right.
Anyway, I do have an opening bit, but it is totally lame. So I actually forgot it. So let's just get right into the.
You really
show.
forgot?
I really forgot it.
It was a meta cascade overflowed your brain, and because you were storing it in the stack, but I totally overflowed the heap, and you didn't deallocate, so I overwrote the stack, and then there was override. Okay.
Yeah, it didn't. The thing is, at least you didn't execute any code elsewhere. It's not like I just suddenly pooped myself.
And actually, if anyone wants to come and write me an email about no, you actually would overwrite the stack to get into the heap. Shut up.
Right. So this. I wouldn't normally talk about this sort of thing because it's happened before. Good God. And I have to talk about it, though, because I can't believe this is still an issue, and I can't believe that basically the exact same course of events has happened again. South Park, as you all know, episode 200, they were building up to it, their 200th episode.
Amazing genius work of genius.
Brilliant. I love South Park. Scott loves South Park. It's the thing. We don't talk about it on the show. I mean, what are we going to say? Hey, I like that show. Hey, I like it too.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we could review it the same way we review an
maybe,
anime.
I think, I don't know, we shouldn't review or talk about any of these kinds of things at length, but I think at the very least we need to, mention them quickly in passing more often, because people seem to think that, people seem to either think, A, we watch all that stupid geeky shit that everyone else watches that's completely retarded and vapid, or people think we don't watch anything at all.
I will admit, the only vapid thing that I watch at all right now is Glee, and I don't even like it that much.
I don't watch any of that shit. I watch South Park and...
you don't even watch Archer, which I think you should
Some animes.
Yeah, I watch Glee and Archer and South Park, and... I actually still watch The Simpsons.
I don't watch it regularly, but if you turned it on, I wouldn't be like.
So you realize there's a recent one where they go to Israel.
Oh shit!
It's not that great. The jokes are kind of the obvious ones.
Yep.
Okay. So South Park, once showed Muhammad, and then showed Muhammad again, and no one had any problem. And then they wanted to show Muhammad another time, and they weren't allowed to. And now for the 200th episode. They basically did this whole meta thing of bringing everything back about South Park except Muhammad, and just straight up pointing out how stupid it is that Comedy Central won't let them show Muhammad on the show. Mm-hmm. And they did not actually show Muhammad, but they did this great thing.
See, I actually have a feeling, right? This is one of those situations. It's not Comedy Central. If Comedy Central was broken off into its own deal, it would probably be cool. I think it's probably Viacom executives.
Probably.
Because I don't know what the hierarchy is like over there. It might be one and the same. I'm not sure, but that's the feeling you get, right? A Comedy Central person wouldn't be a dick. A Viacom person would be a dick.
Then again, look at the majority of the programming on Comedy Central. It's not all South Park.
Well, look at the majority of programming on...
Anything?
Cable television.
Yeah, and the people... Anyway. So the episode, they get to the point where they're basically like, well, is it okay if we just kind of put him like in a box? You know, you don't see him, you just see the box. What if we put a mask on him? What if we just say, all that kind of stuff? And it was good, and it made its point very, very well.
They also, the key point they made was like, look, we're not doing something because someone is threatening violence against us if we do it. So then they bring up the question, what if someone also threatened us with violence, to make us do it? What do you do then?
Well, if you're
it's
reading,
violence either way.
If you're reading Japanese political manga, the answer is you threaten someone with violence if they do the thing they were gonna do anyway. Because then if they do it, it looks like you won, and if they don't do it, you stopped them.
Yep.
I learned that from Eagle and Sanctuary.
That is a key strategy, especially in a board game.
But the episode was great, and Comedy Central, they did do the second half of this episode, and they bleeped everything out at the last minute. Mm-hmm. And now they took the episode down from the online streaming.
Well, they usually take things down for the online streaming.
No, but they took it down. It doesn't say, pre-contractual, whatever. It says this long little rant about, we didn't want to take it down. And I quote, "We apologize that South Park Studios cannot stream episode 201 at this time. After we delivered the show and prior to broadcast, Comedy Central placed numerous additional audio bleeps throughout the episode. We do not have network approval to stream our original version of the show." Mm-hmm. And that's the end of that.
Well, let me go on the BitTorrents here. Let's see. 201. Ooh, HD TV. How many seeds are there? Wow, this must be the right one because it has, guess the number of seeds.
802.
20,402. And there are 6 torrents. That's only one of them, right? So it's season 14, episode 6, right? That's the one I want?
Yes.
Click. I'll download it here with your Fios.
That's fine. I will start downloading too. That's 2 more seeds.
Yep.
So I don't think they even show Muhammad in the second episode. And the scariest part is that the whole point of the episode was, all right, look, we're going to put him in a bear costume and have him barely talk. There is no actual visual representation of Muhammad at any point in this episode. Is that okay? And in the show, they're like, yes, that is okay. And they got threatened anyway in the real world.
Well, it wasn't threatened. It was a warning, right? At least for the one that I read, right, was basically there was some group of crazy Islamists or Muslims or whatever. And they said, look, right, we're not threatening you. We're not going to come and blow you up. But we're warning you that someone else is.
But that's meta. That it's almost as that's the nice army you have here. It's a shame if anything were to say happen to it.
Oh, this torrent isn't working.
Maybe there's trouble. You know what? I'm so sad.
Maybe it's because I'm using this weird Ubuntu torrent.
I wanted to watch my South Park, and the opening theme even played. You get 5 minutes into that shit, and then out of nowhere, Rick roll.
If only.
So I don't know. Everything that could be said about this can be said. I just think this whole idea that we're going to give up our free speech on one thing because a bunch of people have threatened violence about it. And the episode shows Buddha smoking crack, and yet they're not allowed to show Muhammad standing there saying hi.
Yeah, there's not really much to discuss. It's all incredibly obvious stuff, and it's just, network people.
What I do think should happen, though, is that remember way back in the day how there was that, save internet free speech banner campaign?
The blue ribbon?
Maybe we need a Muhammad's head campaign. The exact same thing, just a little banner with a happy Muhammad being like, hey.
I don't know.
Hey, everybody.
Sure.
I don't know. That's the best I could come up with on this Thursday. Okay. So what do you have on this Thursday?
Well, usually it's like we try to save, tech, anime, and gaming things for their respective days. But you know what? Today I want to bring in a little bit of everything. So I'm bringing in a tech news. Because there'll probably be a better tech news on Monday, right? So this tech news is that Ubuntu version 10.04, which is number 10.04 because it's 2010 in April, right? So it's 10 for 2010 and 4 for April. In 7 days will be released. Now this is important for 2 reasons. Number 1 reason, it is an LTS release. That means that this release will be supported for like 5 years. So you can install this and just not upgrade it for like fuck ever, you know? So if you want to like put Ubuntu on your parents' computer or on your server or anything like that.
Or you work at a company, that's pretty much the best reason.
Yeah.
If you're using these in an office, you want the LTS.
Yeah, so use this one and it's going to have all updated stuff and you won't have to upgrade it for a long time. You can just update and not upgrade, which is a big difference, right? And the other thing is they've changed a lot of the UI stuff if you are using the GUI parts, at least the default GUI parts. There's a lot more purple going on. There's a lot more, all the UI elements are like...
How much brown?
The icons are still seem to be the same orange icons, which I think is weird. It's like, why didn't they change the icons?
I do not like the orange and brown of Ubuntu. I get that that's what they like. I get that that's what they've gone
now
with.
It's all like, it's weird. It's like this whole purple and gray and orange situation.
See, it would be cool, but look at that. That brown shit is still coming in.
It's all whatever.
It looks so bad. The blues and the purples and the blacks tend to, I think, make cleaner looking interfaces.
Yeah, well,
I don't like light brown or pastel colors, anything like that. I want cold, hard, like light on dark representations of everything. Anyway.
Yeah, that's just how they do. Well, nothing you can really do about it. But anyway, yeah, there's a new Ubuntu. It's going to be pretty high. It's going to be high quality. And even if you don't like how the GUI looks, you can change it because it's not OS X. You can change things. And so you should pay attention to that shit.
So, things of the day. This is a cross between the Batmobile and Roger Smith's car.
What?
And if this car were available in the real world now with modern engine and modern stuff inside of it, I might have to give up on the I want a tiny little car plan and get the Phantom Corsair 1938.
Somehow I don't think a 1938 car is going to work very well.
The thing is, it was actually very aerodynamic. It performed really well. It was a prototype car made by Rust Hines. Probably not the best name of a manufacturer of cars. But it is the baddest ass looking car of that style I've ever seen. Because it's a real car and it's freaking awesome. It cost apparently about $300,000 equivalent to today's money back then to produce one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And they were going to sell it for about half that. But what I've got for you is this car actually has a weird history. It was, in fact, called the Flying Wombat in a movie back then called The Young in Heart in 1938. So they used the prototype car in this movie. But rather than using the movie as marketing for the car, they just called it something different in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. It's kind of that wouldn't happen that way in the modern world. Also, this old movie gets points for having the most ridiculous, like, projection screen driving scenes I've ever seen. We really take the way movies look today for granted when you look at this old shit.
Yeah.
I kind of want to watch this movie, though.
Just because it has some weird car in it?
I also have... Well, the movie looks good.
Do you want to watch Herbie also?
Herbie, not so good, but this good.
Okay.
Seriously, watch this clip, and I think you will agree. This looks like a pretty good movie. It's about a bunch of con men, and they con an old lady, and the car's involved, and it's good stuff. Mm-hmm. I also have a video of the actual 1938 Phantom Corsair driving around at a show, and it sounds pretty damn impressive.
Okay.
I don't know. It's a cool story. I found all this stuff. I found this whole like weird story about the movie. Actually, I don't want to get into it, but if you look at the movie, there was a famous actress who was on the stage, not in cinema. And there is no video of her ever performing, despite her being crazily popular and famous back in the day. Except she auditioned and did a screen test for the movie that has the Flying Wombat, a.k.a. the Phantom Corsair, in it. And because they found that screen test, we actually have a video of this famous actress.
Uh-huh.
So it is proof that if you pick almost any thread in the world, no matter what it is, and you follow it, you can find interesting stuff in almost every direction for a long way out.
I don't think you'll find any interesting stuff if you read...
If you read what?
About...
Oh, by the way, that South Park was done before the Thing of the Day music stopped.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, so...
See how I saved you there? You didn't have anything, and then I cut you off by saying something unrelated? Like it was prompted, like it actually was spontaneous?
So my thing of the day here, right? I used a technology news on Thursday, so I'll use a gaming thing of the day. Talking about some Dwarf Fortress here. Now,
Dwarf. You may recall, new listeners, we did a panel that was basically the Dwarf Fortress panel.
And we also did an interview with the creator of Dwarf Fortress on this very show. But anyway, Dwarf Fortress, the thing that's great about the game...
I believe it's pronounced Dorf.
Right. The thing that's great about this game is mostly, the stories that emerge from, the game itself, afterwards. Someone will play a bunch of Dwarf Fortress, and then when they're all done, they will, tell an epic tale of what happened. And, to watch it unfold in the game is not nearly as epic as, when the imagination is applied to the raw structure that
my
the
dwarves
game
dug
creates
too
you.
deep into a den of magma as demons.
So this
the
guy
fighting was brutal.
This guy in this forum here, the NZ Fortress forum, which looks like a Team Fortress 2 forum.
Oh, that's what you're doing?
What?
I know what your thing of the day is now.
Oh, okay.
It has been revealed to me by meta information.
So, basically what he did is he played some Dwarf Fortress, right? And he wrote, an epic tale of what happened. He made a little report, as you're supposed to do, so that the people elsewhere in the world can sort of, hear your epic tale of dwarfness. And because, screenshots from the game aren't really, easy to understand for normal people, especially in a Team Fortress forum as opposed to a Dwarf Fortress forum, he illustrated it in a children's book style. And he has some pretty good art skills, and he has some good Photoshop skills, I guess, to go with his art skills. I guess they're one and the same. And he tells a very good story of what happened in his Dwarf Fortress game. And let me say, his story is quite the epicness. It is one of the highest quality Dwarf Fortress stories I have read. So...
Now, be warned. If you think this is awesome, you might think, maybe I should play Dwarf Fortress and have my dwarfs do dwarfy things and then tell my own story.
Go for it.
Go for it?
Go. Good luck.
Everyone should try it once. It's one of those things where you've got to see. Like, you have to see it with your own eyes to realize what it really is.
Yes, but anyway, I present to you the story of Bronze Murder, the Fortress of Bronze Murder, versus the monster Agez Rashas.
So right before we get into the main bit, we have to do the meta moment, which normally Scott reminds me just before we skip to the second half of the show. It says, hey, don't forget the meta moment. And I say, don't remind me. I always remember. And then I do it.
And then
last show, he didn't remind me, and I totally didn't fucking do it. So here we are, meta moment.
Do we have any meta-ness at all?
Anything new?
I guess, this Cosmos is still the book club book. I still don't have a copy. Rim still hasn't finished reading his copy. I can't even find a soft cover on Amazon. They're all hardcovers.
Dude, The Strand.
I'm probably going to have... Yeah, but I have to go down there.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Go this weekend. We got people coming out anyway. Maybe we'll take the whole crew to The Strand.
It's a lot of going.
And then we'll ditch them there and go back to our place and see if they can find their way back.
But what other meta-ness do we have? Convention season, it's a lull. There's no conventions until July. It's still April, so you got, a couple months off here with nothing doing. And I guess you should, go to our website, because a lot of people who listen to us don't do that. FrontRowCrew.com.
I'll say straight up, though, I'm not going to announce what yet, but we are definitely doing panels and other things at PAX Prime. So we will be there, but we don't have a schedule or anything yet, obviously. It's a little early
September.
for that.
That's a little ways out. Let's worry about the July convention.
See, this is what I got to get into. Fucking Otakon, which is in August.
I thought it's in July.
Yeah, late July, whatever. No schedule yet. No plans. We haven't even started going over panels with Otakon yet. Meanwhile, Kineticon, which we're doing panels for, we're going to have a penciled in schedule done, within a matter of days. And PAX Prime, which is in September, we're already talking schedule.
Yep.
I don't know if I can deal with these unprofessional cons anymore.
I don't know either, but we've gone to Otakon how many years in a row?
I know. I feel like
not to go, but it's if they can't step up the game, what am I supposed to do? And I don't even have a car, so it's going to Baltimore is a bigger pain in the ass than it ever was before. So I'm going to go through all that hassle for.
At least Anime Boston is the fan con that is still treating us professionally.
Yeah, and it's much easier to get to than Baltimore.
Yeah, flying to Boston's cheaper than Amtrak into Boston.
I know, right?
So. Without further ado...
Yeah, so I guess we're going to do an episode...
This was suggested by 2 independent listeners. I don't know if you colluded or what, but Yeah, people have been asking us what it's like or what's different now that we live in the city. They want us to do a show on something about living in the city, definite article city, as in New York City.
Yeah, I personally, I'm like, that's sort of a bleh episode. Is it going to really be that good? But you know what? I figure at least once, right? There are certain episodes people keep asking for, and we keep saying, no, that's a really stupid episode. It's not going to be good. We don't have a lot to say. We have some reason that's a bad episode. So you know what? You the listener requests usually, are not the greatest.
Well,
so,
the thing is, you jackasses always ask for food episodes. The food episodes
or
are the most
zombie
requested.
episodes,
The thing is, I don't count zombie requests as actual requests because they know we're never going to do it.
Okay.
They know. And
I
if
hope
they
they
didn't,
know.
Now they know.
But anyway, so let's for once let us oblige, right? We'll do what the listeners want, and it's okay because this is not a.
Here's the trouble. Here's the problem with what you just revealed.
It's the Tribes 2 mistake, right? The one we always complain about.
If this is a popular episode, we've basically just shot ourselves in the foot. Now we're going to have to start doing all the crap they ask us to do.
No, the thing is, right? No, because the thing is, like, look, if it's a popular episode among the listeners, that doesn't mean shit. It only will prove to be a popular episode if it brings in a whole bunch of people we never saw before. Then we'll have to keep doing it.
I would argue that is a false dichotomy because the only kinds of episodes that would bring in people in large quantities are the ones that have some independent of the quality of the show external appeal for the subject matter in the title alone that causes it to be linked to.
Couldn't this have some people could be, how many people are interested in like learning about what it's like
but
to
for
live
example,
in,
the
the
masturbation
city?
episode brought a lot of people in because it was kind of weird and it got the word out there. But a topic that the problem is, what if it's a good show that just doesn't bring in new people but is popular?
We will need some evaluation.
I just don't want to set a precedent for people to say, well, that episode was popular. Why did you do my episode on burritos?
Yeah, fuck you.
I think actually, though, the reason we should do this is that, and we'll stop the meta minute in a second. This is still all meta. It's been the meta show. Mm-hmm. Is that very often, Scott and I will both say something like, yeah, we don't have anything to say about this topic. But then it'll be go time in the South Park style, the Trey and Parker style. We won't have any episode better than the Crab People crap episode that we came up with as a last resort.
Thursday.
So we'll do the Crab People, and it'll be just fine because we suddenly have emerging conversation.
Anyway, so living in New York City, we've been here, how many months?
I've been here since December, basically, so 4 months and change.
I was here earlier than that, like November, October-ish.
The thing I really have to say is that
But I paid a month of rent where I was basically going back and forth.
Yep.
And then I was here for reals.
I mean, I can summarize it pretty straight up. I now, looking back on RIM from 6 months ago, cannot even imagine a time in my life where I even considered the possibility of not living in the middle of the biggest city in the world. Well, the greatest city in the world.
The city.
Like, I can't imagine that I actually wanted to buy a house outside of the city, that I even considered it. That's the fact that I put down 20 grand to buy that house. Like, it shocks me. I'm so glad that deal fell through. I would have, the thing is, I don't know if I would have regretted it, because if I'd gotten the house, I never would have moved here and I wouldn't have known.
You would have known because you came down to my apartment, and that's when you were like, oh shit, Scott's smarter than me.
Yeah, because Scott did move to the city first, and I was going to buy the house, and the plan was to put like a studio upstate for doing video and all the Geeknights plans we had, and make it kind of the center of the front row crew. And then Emily and I just stayed at Scott's apartment one night, and suddenly it clicked that, wait a minute, I have like a 15-minute commute now.
Yeah.
I can do stuff in the city.
Yep.
It's not that much more expensive.
Nope.
That was the kicker. It is not that much more expensive to live in the city.
Yeah,
than it is to live upstate.
people look at the city rents, right? Okay, so check this out, right? I was living upstate. The rent for it was like a big apartment. Like, it had a living room and a kitchen and a hallway.
Two floors,
2 bedrooms, 2 bath. It was big.
2
right?
decks. I mean, the bedroom was enough for 2 like king-size beds.
There was a lot of
change.
space in this thing, but the rent was $1,200, and there were 2 people, so it was $600. That's a low rent.
Yep,
right?
$600 a month.
That's a low rent. So now, right, my city rent in Astoria, so I got to take the subway to get into the city or ride my bike, right? And it's not like in Manhattan. It's it's on across the river, but it's not like it's still New York City. It takes me like 15 minutes to get to work. It's not a big deal. The rent is, I have 1 bedroom, 1 living room, 1 bathroom. The kitchen is sort of part of the living room-ish. I have a little balcony. I got some windows. It's nice and modern and everything. There's an elevator, and I'm on the 3rd floor, and it's pretty nice. But the rent is $1,500, and that's just one person rent. So,
all right, so
that is more than double rent.
But that's only on the surface. You think, all right, more than double rent. But
for a lot less space.
But living upstate, we had almost $400 a month in the train.
Yep, the train ticket, right, was like 400 something.
That's $400 a person.
And then if you didn't live near, if you didn't work near Grand Central, you had to also pay $80 for the unlimited Metro card.
So you're pushing almost $500 extra on just for commuting on top of.
So now the New York, right? So now the upstate cost of living is like $1,100 versus the $1,500 rent in the city.
So I thought to myself, would I pay $400 a month to be able to teleport to work and back rather than taking this train? And then I realized that, well, I might as well move into the city. It's the ATM conundrum.
Well, I mean, there's even more financial things to consider. Like, well, I won't have any car at all, period. I'll just get rid of it. So that saves even more money. And then,
well, that's saving me $11 a month in insurance.
It saved me a lot more than that.
Well, you had a nicer car.
Yeah. But, there's also other things like, okay, the food in the city is more expensive, but
not that much more.
It's a lot more expensive. A yogurt in a normal grocery store outside of New York City is like 20 cents. A yogurt anywhere in New York City is $1. So it's like, you're spending the prices are much higher. But the thing is, when we were upstate, you'd have to drive to the grocery store. So you had to pay for gas. And then you would buy all this food at the grocery store because you couldn't really go there that often. And then most of that food wouldn't get eaten because you bought too much. I can walk to the grocery store and get exactly the amount of food that I need at any moment in time. So I'm not buying any excess food. So the money I've been calculating, because I keep track of this sort of thing, I'm actually making out because I'm buying a lot less food, but I'm eating pretty much 99% of it. I hardly throw out any foods that isn't, that's actually went bad or anything like that.
Yeah. And even better, where I am, I actually use Fresh Direct. So I don't have to go outside for anything I purchase in the entire world except some clothes.
Yep. And the savings in time is just off the charts in terms of things that I can do.
Of course, it's amazing how quickly things go from amazing to taken for granted to still not perfect. Emily and I could not find the time last week to order our fucking groceries online.
Yeah, I don't have this problem.
I couldn't be asked to just log out of the website and click on order the same thing I ordered 2 weeks ago and have it brought into my apartment and put in my fridge for me by people.
Yeah, this is a problem I do not have.
Well, I live a much more life lately.
Right.
But the crazy thing is, Scott by himself, Emily and I moved, got the place together, and our rent is double Scott's, so it's about $3,000 a month. But if the two of us moving into the city means we're saving about $1,000 a month in train and Metro card. Well,
because it's two people times so it's $800 in train tickets.
Yeah, plus all the associated fees. We both had cars upstate that we got rid of, and basically dividing it all up, it is way cheaper than that mortgage was going to be.
Well, there's all those, added fees on the mortgage and things like that you don't even realize. And all that stuff.
I took all those into account, the property taxes and all that.
But there's also the New York City tax.
Yeah, I did not worry about the New York City tax yet because my taxes are going up rapidly anyway.
Yeah.
Fucking capital gains taxes. I still can't figure out how they work.
I know, it's weird. I thought, I calculated, before I came to the city, and it's the calculations, it was I was trying to be all, I wasn't, 100% okay, I was trying to be conservative and then, unconservative. And I was like, oh, man, there's plenty of money. Oh, man, there's not enough money. Be realistic. There's not enough money. Oh, you're going to have less extra, profits. There's plenty. Profits are fine. It's all good. Money's not an issue. It's fine.
Yeah, but I think what we should do is we should not skip a little bit of the personal experience like this. And I just want to get into kind of the things about this living in the city that are great or that are just different that I guess someone who hasn't lived in the city or just someone who's thinking living in the city or a city wouldn't realize or things you just wouldn't think about.
Well, it's pretty much only two things, right? Number one, tourists need to all die.
Jesus Christ, people. Walk. Don't just stop. Walk.
See, Disney World, right, is a place where there are tourists, but those tourists pretty much just stay in Disney World, and there aren't any non-tourists in Disney World except for Disney World employees, right? So it's not like you have this sort of clash of situations. But in New York City, right, I work nearish to Times Square. You've got people who are living in apartments. You got people who are going to fucking work, and you have tourists. And it's like, listen, you tourists, get the fuck out of the way. I live here. Get the fuck out of my house, right?
The thing is, though, isn't it? You got to admit, it's at least
And
a little
then
bit
you've
cool.
and then you got people like preying on the tourists, also getting in your way. Every time we walk out of the office building, it's like, hey, you guys want to see a comedy show and free beer? It's like, shut the fuck up.
I know the deal. It's shitty comedy and it's shitty beer. I've been down that road.
Yeah, you're the comedian, right? and you already drank the beer. I keep trying to, like, I have this plan that basically I'm going to sneak up on them and be like, hey, you like comedy and beer? You know, and give them their own shtick. But they always get me. I saw a guy and I made eye contact with him and I was ready to go. And he got me from like 10 feet away. I'm like, dude.
He saw you coming.
I was going to get you when I was at 7 feet away. And
He
you
knew. He knew. You're not the first New Yorker to think of that.
I'm going to get him next time. Next time.
What you should do is when the hobo is about to ask you for money, you should ask him for money.
The hobos don't really ask for money. They sort of go.
It depends. I've run into a couple of
The only
aggressive...
ones I don't like are the ones that are the subway hobos where they get on and give you the speech. It's like, shut up. We know it's all lies. Shut up.
The thing is, it's also all lies outside of the city. I remember one day I came home from, to Beacon late at night. I'm walking back from the train. And this guy gives me the sob story, which reeked of bullshit of, I just need money to like blah, blah, blah to get
I need
gas.
some change to get on the bus. I need,
But he gives me the story about like how his truck broke down. He's got to get money to do something before it gets towed, whatever. And I was like, yeah, right, whatever, dude. And he yelled at me. And the next day I came home and the same dude tells me the same story. And I was like, don't you recognize me from yesterday? And he was like, and he kind of just like backed away.
You know what you should do is anyone who comes and tells you any story, right? You should just be like, yeah, you told me the same story yesterday, even if they didn't. That would be a good idea.
I've realized that anyone who engages you on the street,
unless they want directions.
Yes, but
which
anyone,
is fun.
So think of this. Anyone who engages you on the street and does not begin, the first thing they say to you is not either a direct greeting or the beginning of a question, they're scamming you. Because the people who are scamming you and asking for money never immediately ask for money. They start telling you the story.
Exactly.
But someone who's actually lost or actually has a problem says, hey, can you help me out? Mm-hmm. But the scammers never do that. The scammers always are like, yeah, my son right over there fought in the war, Civil War, or whatever war you can remember.
Yeah, the Civil War, really? Well, I can definitely get you a lot of money if that is true.
That's always the joke in my building because it's the Lincoln building. And it's the building is always like pre-war. And the joke is always, yeah, what, the Civil War? Because the building's a piece of shit. There's some problems in there.
Anyway, so pretty much the only other thing there is to say about New York City is that once you live here, you can't live anywhere else because pretty much anything you want is here immediately.
Except fucking donuts.
There's donuts here.
Not good donuts.
Why not?
Where? Tell me where to get a good donut.
Let's go type into the Google.
It's going to be like one place way downtown. You have to go like 40 minutes out of my way to find it.
Donut Plant, New York City. How about that?
Is that a shop or is that a factory?
I'm going to find out real soon.
If that is a shop or a factory,
It's a Flash website, so it's all yeast donut, strawberry tres leches, peanut butter glazed blackberry jelly, vanilla bean glazed blackberry jelly.
These sound like fake Dunkin' Donuts style donuts and not real old school fried donuts.
Whatever, you and your just donutism.
Real donuts, like what bakers make, not Dunkin' Donuts. Those are not donuts. They look like donuts. They taste a little like donuts. They're not donuts.
They're Bakery of the Year for 2008, so how about that?
Also, you know what is not terribly common in New York City? Good submarine sandwiches. There's good paninis and good other kinds of sandwiches and good like kosher deli sandwiches, but a traditional like submarine sub kind of sandwich, they're not that common. They're not that easy to find.
No, they're,
I feel like you get better subs in Philly and in the Midwest.
That's just a geographical situation.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that there are, New York, not everything in New York is perfect. Also,
and I'm sure there's probably at least one place you can get them somewhere.
Also, one of the drawbacks of living in the city is that much of Manhattan does in fact smell like urine through most of the summer.
So
there's really no way around that.
Don't go.
However, right now, it smells more like flowers than urine in most of the city.
Well, if you're near a park, I mean, and there isn't a hobo in the park.
God, last night that hobo on the train.
Yeah, if you see a bunch of subway cars and one of them's empty and it looks like there's a hobo in there, get in a different car that's crowded because the hobo probably smells real bad.
That smell doesn't get out. So I was going to say something before I got sidetracked. It is cool. As much as the tourists piss me off and get in my way, I don't mind them that much just because it's kind of a weird, cool thing to have something that I just live in and just take for granted and use all the time. Like the stairway in Grand Central. Just it's a stairway. I use it. And yet people will fly from all over the world to go into this place, stand on the thing that I just used, and take a picture to prove that they were there.
Yeah, this is why I need to be able to think tourists to death just with my mind. It's like, get off the fucking stairs. It says no stopping on the stairs. Walk. I'm using these.
But one thing I will say, I keep saying that.
Like, imagine if you're at work, right, and you're trying to type, do some work, and someone comes, oh my God, that's Scott's computer, and they make you stop working so they can take a picture with your computer. It's like, no, you will die now.
New York does cause you to say the word fuck a lot more often.
Yeah.
It's just something you got to notice. I mean, I say it a lot, a surprising amount. And everyone I know says it a lot. It really isn't a bad word here.
Where is it a bad word?
And other places, if I'm like blah 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 blah, fuck blah the fucking blah, some people go, ooh, well, my word.
Well, those people are bad people.
Fuckers.
You know what's a bad word here? Hello's a bad word.
No,
Don't
hello's
talk to
fine. Hello's not that bad.
Don't talk to me.
Bad word is, sir, I would like to talk to you about.
That's a lot more than one word. Yeah. But the thing
New
is,
York,
right?
A complaint people have about New York is that it makes you hard. People always say, yeah, it makes you hard. And I could see someone having the impression that
make you hard?
That we are harder. I mean, look, half this conversation is fuck those tourists, get those hobos out of my way. This sucks. Urine. Fuck.
Okay.
But I think the misconception a lot of people have about New York is that they see what is in fact straight up honesty and somehow misconstrue it as anger, frustration, unpoliteness, or meanness. When really, I think people in New York City are just desperately, incredibly, straightforwardly honest about everything with each other, except for the people trying to scam money off of tourists.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people talk about things like, oh, this Southern hospitality, or, oh, people are so, nice and friendly in country X, right? And what it is those people, they have, they put on a show.
Not everywhere. In Costa Rica, I get the impression that everyone I met legitimately was that friendly and happy.
Yeah, it's possible. There are those places too. But the thing is that, acting friendly, is completely different from actually, I would rather have people just be honest than act friendly, whether the friendliness was true or false, Because it's like, listen, I don't even know you, so why am I going to waste all these extra words saying all things like, hello and good evening and please and thank you, right? We're wasting a whole bunch of time. I got shit
Scott.
to do. You got shit to do.
There's no defending grammar with you. I think at one point I remember you arguing with me, trying to say that using politeness in any context was basically manipulation and attempted mind control.
There's a reason New York people don't do that. And New York people either. In fact, it does the opposite. You try to say like please, people are like, what are you trying to pull?
But at the same time, notice how rapidly New Yorkers want to show themselves the fuck off. If a tourist is standing there looking at a map, like 20 people will be like, hey, you want some help? Where are you trying to go? What are you trying to get to? Looking for the N train? It's down there.
I think it's pretty much just.
So yeah, slight microphone cable issue. So we're just picking right up here rather than me trying to cleverly edit this whole thing out.
Lazy
nice and
ass.
meta again. Yeah, I'm lazy. What of it? What's it to you?
Lazy ass New York person. I think the main thing that has changed in my life though is that, in addition to the additional free time, right, of not having to commute and such, is that pretty much everything I could possibly imagine, I guess with the exception of donuts and subs, according to Rim, right, is available to me. Anything I want, and
one other thing is not available to me.
I don't have to well, stop listing things that aren't available to you. Everything is available here, right? You just haven't. Every time you think of something that's not in New York City, we always find it. So you didn't just shut up with any of that.
Let's find
right?
some good donuts and actually confirm that they're good donuts.
Right. So is that I don't have to worry about like taking the train home or spending money in a hotel or anything like that. So I can do whatever I want in the city 24/7, and all these things are there. So just the number of options I have of things I can do in my life are expanded like exponentially many times over. I
mean, if I want to play board games, there's just people playing board games. I just go play with them. It just happens.
Yeah, it's like no matter what you're into, no matter what you want to do, you can do it. If you're in, bumblefuck, right? Even if you're smarter than me and have more money than me and better than me in every possible way, and you're cooler and everything, you just can't do as many things, that you could be doing if you lived in New York City. If you wanted to learn, say, I don't know.
A good example from last night. We went to an event at a place where they do like
the center.
It
was the
books.
Center for Book Arts, right? And they have typesetting classes. You want to learn typesetting out in Bumblefuck? Well, it better be a specific Bumblefuck that happens to have a place with a bunch of printing presses. Otherwise, you ain't gonna learn shit out there, right? But if you want to learn book binding or freaking potteries or fucking
pottery's pretty widespread.
Computers or anything that you can imagine, any activity, any education, any book, any item, it's not just learning to either. It's like, this new movie came out, in some foreign country. It's in a theater in New York somewhere. This movie is coming out, but it's also going to be in Ultra IMAX 3D. Oh yeah, Ultra IMAX 3D. We got like 5 of those.
So Scott's rant there aside, small observations. New York, despite the fact that it's one of the denser, happening 24/7 places in the world, it's still not as dense or 24/7 as you might be led to believe. I mean, late at night, like after about 2 a.m., Midtown and a lot of the city is just ghost town. There's no one around. Everything's closed.
Yeah, it really depends on where you are.
A very small number of neighborhoods keep going all night long. Like the St. Mark area is pretty much rocking until the sun comes up.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. If there's a lot of bars somewhere, right, those places usually have later night activity, right? But places that are, say, all office buildings, like Midtown, or touristy things, tourists don't really hang out that late. They'll hang out, to midnight-ish maybe, or until like the Broadway shows get out, and then they'll eat a late dinner or something, and then they're gone. And office buildings, people are gone after like 6, 7, 8. So any of those areas are going to be empty at night, and there's not going to be much going on.
And two, it's not it's as dense as it is. It still feels less dense than I kind of want it to be. It's weird. Like I have this idealized just density of ideas and people and everything all together. And yet even New York feels very wide and open. I mean, to take the subway past large parks and big swatches of trees. And
it's not, like an uber dense city, like, some places in India or Japan or any of those, right, or China where people are stacked like cordwood, You have some room in New York City.
Well, that's the biggest thing. The main reason I didn't want to move into the city originally was that I did not believe I had enough money to live in a large enough place to suit my needs. I mean, me personally, I wanted to have a recording studio. Like I needed a separate place for that. And I wanted to be able to entertain large numbers of guests on a regular basis. The kinds of things I wanted a house for. And at first, my idea of how much space I needed was about double what I actually ended up getting now. Because the thing about New York is that you have all these kind of shared spaces that you can just use when you need them. And it kind of adds these extra rooms to your apartment that just aren't directly connected to it, but are still yours to use.
Yeah, that is one thing, though, is that everyone is always looking for in New York is like, let's say you've got, I don't know, a club. You just want to start a club and you need to have a meeting somewhere, right? Where are you going to have this meeting? A coffee shop. Okay, so the coffee shop is already crowded with patrons. You're going to scrounge up some tiny-ass tables and get together. Okay, good luck with that, right? You get a bar, and you can get the bar to, like, lend you a table. But what if you start getting a big club? What if I'm awesome and I get, like, a 200-person anime club going in the city? Where the fuck am I going to have this thing?
Well, the thing is,
you can't, because there is no place to have it unless you have mad money. Mad money.
It depends on what you're looking for. It's not actually that expensive. The problem is that a lot of the people who join groups like that, no one is willing to put forth the accounting and the effort to sort it all out and maintain everything to continue to get a space on a regular basis.
And even if you do get the money, like what space are you going to get?
Actually, the best place to look is most nicer restaurants have a room you can rent out. And off hours, you like on certain time, like earlier in the day on weekends, you can get those places pretty mad cheap, usually just for the cost of the food and a nominal fee on top of it.
It depends, and often those rooms are not suited to particular activities.
The other thing is, if you go just out of Manhattan, there's actually plenty of spaces. People just don't look that hard.
Yeah, but you got to go out. It's not a lot of. So you're going to get a lot less people if you try to do something like out a little bit in Long Island or out in Jersey than if you do it in Manhattan.
The other thing is,
can just take the subway
I'll be
and show
straight.
up.
I think a lot of the people who are looking for spaces to do these regular things don't look as hard as they could and don't consider a lot of surprisingly reasonable options.
Well, I mean, you sort of have to know someone, or you have to find someone who's got a space that's usually used for something else but isn't being used at that moment, and you repurpose it. Like
how the Mocha is in the parade room at the Armory.
Yeah, it's like, okay, this is an armory. It's in use, but you know what? We will repurpose this armory room that no one is using at this moment to have our comic festival,
But it just, back to my point, it was that my apartment is big enough to do everything I want to do. But part of that is that outside of my apartment, the building has an exercise room and a lounge and a roof and a pool room, and I can use all these rooms.
You mean
like
a billiards room, not a swimming pool room?
Yes, not a pool.
Other apartment buildings do have a pool.
The one next door has a pool,
but it's what the thing is. A lot of those are actually tiny pools.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean that's the thing is out in if you get in the suburbs, right? You have your own exercise room, you have your own basement, you have your own swimming pool. Here, you pay to join the New York Sports Club, and you can just anywhere in the city you have that you can find one of these clubs, which is a lot of them. You have a locker and a shower and a swimming pool and a whole bunch of exercise machines just all over the city. You have a whole bunch, for this fee that you just pay recurringly, and that's it. And that's how things work here.
Well, it's mostly just that I like the idea that it's more efficient because I remember
I don't have a coffee machine, because my kitchen is tiny. I have Starbucks everywhere. So no matter where I am, I can just get coffee instantly.
But the lifestyle of the suburbs, I mean, because I grew up in that environment of every family has a house that provides almost everything you'd want all the time. I mean, in your house, you have the exercise room, you have the pool outside, you have, if maybe the hot tub or or the billiards room or all these things. And as a result, you tend to stay in your house all the time, or you'll always invite people over to your house. New York, there's much more of everyone gets together somewhere that isn't a place where any one of them lives.
Yeah, you don't want to go to someone's house because they live in a tiny apartment somewhere. And like if it's just you visiting or just a couple of people, it's all good. But you don't spend a lot of time there. It's like, oh, okay, we're all sitting on this couch in this tiny apartment. And outside, there is everything you can possibly imagine to do. And inside is, what do you have here? A fridge with just enough food for one person to eat, some computers, some books, TV. Yeah, let's get out of here.
Of course, one observation along those lines is that money in New York just makes everything better and everything easier because it is a city where if you have money, you can wave it and get just about anything you want.
Yeah, but at the same time, people who don't, people have significantly less monies than us. They get by. They no problem.
Well, I mean,
I'm often surprised how they get by, but they do.
Because one, the ultra-rich lawyer rides the same subway that the smelly hobo does.
That's true.
Like the democratization of the municipal and shared services, like the parks and everything like that, is really cool. Like everyone uses the same infrastructure to get around, and everyone kind of is in this together. We're in this together.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I'll admit my experience is skewed by the fact that I actually do have a very large apartment, and all these
relatively speaking, I mean, for New York,
it actually sleeps more people easily than the house in Beacon did, just because of the configuration.
Yeah.
It's actually, I think, a better space than the house in Beacon was for entertaining people. Because I remember the house in Beacon, like that hallway upstairs was just wasted space. And my big ass bedroom, just wasted space. You couldn't really use that having people over. Everyone crammed into that not that big living room, which made the floor kind of bow down.
Yep.
That was not optimal.
Nope.
But the other observation I have, I forget, so we'll just move on.
Okay.
No, I remember. So the last night we ate dinner at like the Shake Shack in the park. Just like late at night after the thing, and it was cool, but I have such a different perspective living in the city now of places like Central Park or, Bryant Park, just the parks and the hangout places and the Starbuckses and all these things before were kind of, I went to them to do an activity specifically. Like I'd come into the city, do a thing there and then leave. And there were always these kind of endpoints for doing things specifically. And now that I live here and I don't have to go anywhere after I'm done doing things, suddenly these parks take on a very different character. Like going to Central Park and just kind of milling around is a very different experience from coming into the city and going to Central Park as an activity. Because, if you come in and go like a tourist, like I want to go look at Central Park or I'm going to go walk around Central Park, it kind of puts this impetus on you. It kind of rushes you a little bit. You have this almost duty to walk around and see it all, but you can't experience it from I'm just going to go lay in the park for a while because I got nothing else to do, whatever.
Yeah.
So and a lot of the things in the city just have this very different perspective when you don't have to leave it.
Yeah, I mean, if you live in a particular thing, right? If you see something every day, right? As opposed to it being like a one-day activity, I have one day to see this thing or to experience this thing. In that one day, you're going to try to experience the whole thing deliberately. But if you can just experience something whenever you want, any part of it at any time, right? Then it's like the difference between a concert and having an MP3, right? If you go to a concert, you gotta experience all the live music while it's there. But if you've got an MP3, it's like, well, I can listen to this anytime. So it's completely different, even if it's like the same exact audios. And even if you have a concert sound system, it's, not the exact same. So, but yeah, the other thing about New York City is that transportation, right? We already talked about, I guess, in-city transportation, kind of, right? You get rid of your car to save money.
It's awesome. You can get everywhere.
There's no reason to have a car because it's just a hassle, right?
Dude, I rollerblade to work every day.
I bicycle to work, but I subway if the weather's bad. But, it's... you can just get anywhere in the city. You don't want a car because a car only gives you trouble because you have to keep moving it around and you're not really... Unless you have so much money that you can park it somewhere.
That's what I'm saying. Unless you have money. For like $100 a month, I could just park a car in my building and then doormen go and get it for me when I want it.
Yeah, if you have that much money, you're all set. But if you don't have that much money, just get rid of your car. It's only a hassle. And then you can take a taxi. You can take a subway. You can take a bus. You can get anywhere in the city that you want really easily. You can even get to places like Jersey on the Path or Long Island on the Long Island Railroad, or you can take the Metro North Railroad to New York State or Connecticut or all sorts of...
long distance travel is a whole different game now living in the city. And I remember before, with the car-centric, cars are still, for most of the kind of travel we do, faster and cheaper and easier. Mm-hmm. But only if you live outside of the city. You need the car anyway, so it's kind of like, it's not like it's an extra cost to maintain the car.
Yeah, it's like if you already own a car and you need it, so you're already paying for insurance and all that stuff already. So that's already a sunk cost, and you need to go to Boston, right? Then driving to Boston is the best idea because you can bring a bunch of stuff with you. It's real easy. Yeah, you're going to have to pay for parking, which sucks, but that's still less than the cost of, some airplane and such. And, it makes up for it because you can bring stuff with you. And, yeah, you have to pay for gas, but even that is still less, and there's no hassle of, like, waiting for a flight to take off or anything like that. But if you don't own a car, then suddenly it's like, well, to drive there is really stupid and expensive because I had to pay to rent a car or buy a car and such and such and such. So you're much better off paying $20 to get on like the Chinatown bus, even though it might break down and does so often.
But that's what's awesome. I guess way back, I didn't account for the fact that while the delays of taking like a bus or a plane are annoying compared to a car, from anywhere else, like from Beacon, from the city, flying is crazy convenient.
Yeah, I mean, the airport is just right there. It's not like, I can get to the airport as quickly as I can get to work. So it's not like a big deal to go fly somewhere. It's just like, I walk out the door, I get on a plane, whoosh, and in the planes, it's not like, I'm in Rochester where, okay, if I want to fly to somewhere, I have to fly first to New York and then somewhere. I can just go anywhere in the world on a direct flight pretty much for a pretty reasonable price. So there is complete access to the entire world from where we are.
Not just with the planes, but the bulk buses and the things like that are fucking awesome. I got to say.
Yeah, and it's not just internet. It's not just physical travel access to the entire world. It's not just internet access to the entire world, which everyone I would hope has, right? It's access to things from around the world. If I want French things, Indian things, Chinese things, I can get things from anywhere in the world, just in stores in New York City. People from anywhere in the world.
They're opening a second Uniqlo.
Yeah, it's like, I'd really like to talk to, I'm going to go to, Slovakia. I should really talk to a Slovakian dude. Hey, I found a Slovakian dude who lives in New York. What's up, dude? Oh, here, look, it's a Slovakian restaurant. I can try out some Slovakian food. There's some books about Slovakian library. I hope everyone has that also. But, you have access to freaking everything. It's there somewhere. You can find it, you know? Oh, man, I really wish I had this comic book. Yeah, I had to drive, like, an hour to get to the nearest comic book store. Yeah, I've got, like, 20 comic book stores I can walk to.
But that's one of the
And
biggest...
that's a niche thing, right? And there's a whole bunch of them.
That's really the biggest change in my life of living in the city is that before, when I lived out of the city, I had this kind of weekend-centric life where I would do things on weekends. And on weekdays after work, we'd do the show, and I'd kind of stay home and do very, home kind of things. I'd watch anime, I'd read, but I wouldn't do things because doing things outside of the city meant traveling somewhere, at least somewhere somewhat far away, maybe even like to Poughkeepsie or something.
Or it meant staying in the city after work and then getting on a train and getting home extra late at like 1 a.m.
But even events, just doing something that doesn't involve the city at all out of the city requires a lot more kind of doing to do. You got to get your car, drive somewhere, park, go to an event, find dinner later elsewhere, pick a restaurant, all that stuff. But now my life is much more just constant. Like it used to be weekday, weekend. Now it's just day. And every day I do stuff and every day is different. It's a lot more like college, except I still have that 9 to 5 work in the way, but.
Well, you got to pay for it somehow, right?
Yeah.
So, whatever.
I love living here. The only two places I ever want to live in my life again are either in the center of this city, as close to the middle of it as I can possibly get, or in like a Costa Rican paradise with a polychronic lifestyle.
Yeah, but the thing is, even if I live there, the polychronic lifestyle of relaxing in the sun would be totally awesome. But every time I wanted to do something, I'd be like, fuck, I don't have anything here. I have fucking trees. What am I supposed to do?
The way around that is to be rich enough to have the penthouse apartment in the city and the Costa Rican paradise house and just go back and forth between them whenever you want.
Yeah, but then I spend all that time going back and forth. I need a teleporter. Or I need a city in a tropical paradise, and then I have the penthouse like deck so I can go, with some palm trees growing on the roof. That's where it's at.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geeknights is not one, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.